A quick word. The conversation in this podcast with Quincy Isaiah and Rob Morgan was recorded before SAG-AFTRA went on strike.
Have you read Othello? Greatest general in Venice. Maybe all of Europe.
Did he have any tips on the low post trap?
Even if he did, it wouldn't matter because his downfall was not battle plans. It was personalities.
Welcome to the official Winning Time podcast from HBO. I'm Rodney Barnes, executive producer on HBO's Winning Time, The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 1980 NBA World Champions, your Los Angeles Lakers!
I call it the system.
Fucked I now. I want more.
That is what I'm talking about.
On this podcast, we'll unpack every episode of the second season. We'll also sit down with some of my Winning Time collaborators, actors, directors, and other key people behind the scenes who help bring this story to life. Today, we dive into our supersized season premiere with sports writer and best-selling author Jeff Pearlman. He wrote the book that inspired the series, Showtime, Magic, Kareem, Riley, and the Los Angeles Lakers dynasty of the 1980s. After that, we have Earvin Johnson Jr. and Sr., Quincy Isaiah, and Rob Morgan, who will help us unpack the family drama taking place. And finally, music supervisor Gabe Hilfer takes us through some of the key needle drops in the episode. But first, a little recap and a warning. If you haven't watched the first episode, hit pause and come back later. There's spoilers ahead. This episode is called One Ring Does Not a Dynasty Make and was directed by Sally Richardson Whitfield. It starts in the future with Game 1 of the 1984 Finals, the Lakers versus the Celtics, Magic versus Bird. But then, cut back to 1980, where we'd ended the story after Season 1. We've got injuries, family, and power dynamics, both on and off the court. And Coach Westhead is pushing a new style of Lakers basketball. By the end of the episode, Magic and Kareem have both become fathers. All of Jerry Buss's kids are involved in the sprawling family business, and they're all living under one roof. And Magic is about to return to the court following a life-changing injury. Some of these scenes and moments and instances are fictional. We add them in to tie facts together and to weave a narrative that is compelling. Again, some things are fictional, but they're inspired by true events that we hope you greatly enjoy and watch from week to week. So let's get into it. Our first guest is Jeff Pearlman, the author of the book Showtime, the reason we're all here. Jeff, it's great to have you here. Thank you for driving an hour to be here.
Hour and 20 minutes.
Hour and 20 minutes. So each week, you and I are going to spend some time at the top of the podcast talking about some of the real events that appear in the show and some of the things that we fictionalized. We're going to start in Boston in 1984, the top of this episode. There was an incident. That incident was where the team was basically run off the floor. They had to run into the bus, and they were chased by fans, hundreds of fans. Did that really happen?
It did really happen. In the show, you have it taking place after Game 1, but it actually happened later on in the finals. But it was a real event that happened. I mean, you have to remember, this was a time when Red Auerbach, a legit basketball guru and genius, was pulling all these strings. And, you know, the Lakers would show up, and suddenly, if it were hot, the air conditioning wouldn't work in the locker room. If it was cold, the heat wouldn't work. The shower, the hot water wouldn't work. All these things. They would stay at the Copley Square Marriott, and there'd be a fire alarm pulled at 3 a.m., like all these things that actually happened. So everything was set off, not only to hurt the Lakers on the court, but to sort of brew the hostility and raise the temperature. You know, the Lakers were basically chased onto the bus. Mm-hmm. And when you see on the show, Adrian Brody playing Pat Riley, you know, basically saying, come on, we got to get out of here. That was a legit feeling and happenstance of the time.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's funny when you hear modern day athletes talk about Boston and being a Celtic, what it's like to be a Celtic. And you hear the little incidents and maybe some name calling here and there, but it's nothing like this, like how the world has evolved to where we are today. I don't know if that's the tone and tenor of the fan fanatic aspect of it, or if the world has really changed. You think Boston has softened some?
I do. I think fandom has softened some. It's interesting because there was maybe it was a decade after that happened. D. Brown was stopped by police in Boston who were looking for, quote, a tall black man put on the ground. And he's saying, I play for the Celtics. I play for the Celtics. And that did not help. And Boston has this history and still has this history. And there is a reluctance of African-American players to want to play or feel comfortable in Boston. I don't think it's as bad as it was, but it still lingers there.
Wow. You mentioned a moment ago Adrian Brody, who's our Pat Riley. And once he got the players on the bus, he gave a speech.
We don't want another ring. We want theirs.
Yeah. Okay, coach.
We want their fucking hearts.
Okay, coach.
You hear me? We want their fucking hearts!
Did we capture the essence of that speech? And can you speak to the specifics of the speech and what embodied it?
Well, I think the show captured it really well. And it was basically, fuck these guys. That was the oomph of it all, was fuck these guys. And Pat Riley, Adrian Brody gets this really well, I think, like really nails it, is this whole like the us against them of Lakers Celtic. He really felt as a former Laker player, as a Laker coach, as an assistant coach, like he hated Boston. He hated everything they stood for. Riley had this thing when he was a coach of Lakers. He called it peripheral opponents. And he would really drill it in his players' heads. And it was the idea that everything that's not us is a peripheral opponent. So your wives are peripheral opponents. Your girlfriends are peripheral opponents. Your dog is a peripheral opponent. And everything except this little sliver of us, the Laker family, is an opponent that needs to be dealt with. And in many ways, the Celtics, Boston, playing in Boston Garden, Red Auerbach, Casey Jones, Larry Bird, Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale, were the ultimate sort of peripheral opponent. And so what you see in the show, that rage, a little bit of fear, is the sort of embodiment of everything he talked about leading up to that moment.
It's funny because it feels like that sense of passion that becomes so personal. I don't know if today's game has that same level. You know, I don't know if it's because of free agency and players just move around from place to place so much that it feels like different characters on, different teams. But I just wonder if that same level of passion can be conjured, from the fan base or even from within the team in the same way that it was back then.
I don't think really. I think you have personal rivalries that can develop, right? So I think Draymond Green, Jordan Poole, like they'll play each other this year and they'll really hate each other.
Yes.
I mean, you and I grew up watching Lakers Celtics, right? So Larry Bird was a Celtic. Kevin McHale was a Celtic. Robert Parrish was a Celtic. Dennis Johnson was a Celtic. Danny Ainge was a Celtic. There was absolutely no way they were going to join the Lakers.
Right.
Like it wasn't going to happen. Magic Johnson, Kareem, all those guys, they were never really going to play for the Celtics. There was no chance. They were Lakers. These were Celtics. It was Jets, Sharks. It was And nowadays, it doesn't exist anymore where there's no chance in hell I'm going to be there. No chance because it's not the same. And I'm not even saying it's bad. I can't begrudge anybody. Like, at all. Like, these are guys, a lot of these guys do not come from money. And all of a sudden, they get to make money.
Yes.
And there's no loyalty from the team to the player. So let the players get what they want.
All right, so our Lakers beat the Sixers season 1. Magic's rookie year. Come out, Magic in game 6 dominates, 42 points. Skyhook gets the MVP. Big deal. Kareem's not there. What do you think that effect had on Kareem?
I mean, I think it served as a definite motivator. Teammates will describe guys as like, oh no, he doesn't have an ego or blah, blah, blah. But it's a cliche, but it's true. Like to get to that level of sports.
Yeah, you have to.
You really do have to. Like you actually, you
have to be delusional in a way.
Yeah. So like watching your team win without you.
Yes.
Watching this guy who you love, but you also find highly obnoxious
Yeah.
and overreaching, step into your almost literal shoes, use your patented shot, win the MVP that you should have won. It definitely lit a fire because Kareem at that point was toward the end of his career,
Yeah.
was kind of mentally wrapping up his career, was sort of pondering what to do next. And then they win it without him, and he's watching it happen from 3,000 miles away in his home in LA. I think more than anything, it served as a tremendous motivator to him. And did he resent Magic? I'd have to be in Kareem's head to say, but I think he definitely, there was an awkwardness afterward over this guy coming and sort of doing what I should have been doing. I also think, Magic had a connection with his teammates that Kareem never could have. One of the things I always remember from the book, reporting the book, they're in the airports because they used to fly commercials sometimes. And Kareem he would spend his time in airports if they had to wait for a plane in the bathroom, in a stall, sitting on the toilet reading a book because he didn't want to be identified. And he wouldn't be a guy who would be shopping up shop with Mark Landsberger.
Right.
Just wasn't that guy at all. So I think a lot of the teammates, after they won without him, certainly felt, if we can do it without him then, we could probably do it without him now.
Yeah. So here's the big moment. We're going to talk about the system. You've got Jack McKinney with our Showtime offense. Jack's gone. And now we've got Westhead with the system. What did you think of the system? What exactly was the system?
It's funny. When I researched the book, I spent a lot of time with Jack McKinney down in Florida. A lot of time in the afternoon, but he was, at the time, he had pretty severe dementia. His memory wasn't great. But we did talk for a long time. And his idea was basketball as a free-flowing, high-flying endeavor. And when the Lakers got Magic Johnson, he had the perfect guy to orchestrate it. Norm Nixon was a great number 2 guy. He had these 2 point guards running up and down the court. Kareem was a weird fit, but he was skilled enough to work. He had Jamal Wilkes running the gap. It was a really smart, interesting system. And it was run and gun and run and gun. And after the bicycle accident, Paul Westhead, his assistant, who I will say, Paul Westhead was no dummy.
Right.
Like, Paul Westhead was a good basketball coach, and he did coach in college, and he
I
was
remember LSU, and all of that.
Oh, yeah. Paul Westhead was a good coach.
Yeah.
He was, and he was not a dummy by any stretch of imagination. But he takes over. They basically stay with the same system. They win the NBA title. They beat the Sixers.
Right.
And he decides to tinker with this thing, this really good thing. And he comes up with the system, which he calls the system, famously. The system. And in the show, it's a great scene where that's your name.
The system. Yeah.
Newton
system.
is doing, it's great. The system?
Yeah.
It's basically this idea that there are spots on the court that are designated for the players. I actually do remember being a kid, Mailpack Sports Association, 10 years old. My coach, Jamie Mastro, is like, this is what we're going to run. You're the forward, so you go to the 5. You're the other forward, you go to the 3. It's this real basic idea. But Paul Westhead thought, with the players they had, with the basketball IQ of the players they had, with Kareem as the focal point, not the backcourt anymore, this will work. We'll put Kareem down low. Jamal Wilkes goes wide. Magic brings down the ball. Norm Nixon to the left. Pass, down low. If you have an opening, shoot or dribble, but that's it. For a guy who was that smart of a basketball coach, it was shockingly basic.
It seemed like the system was so simple in a way that was almost offensive.
Yeah.
If you're a professional basketball player and you've already won titles doing things a specific way, what do you think psychologically or emotionally was the reason that he would want to tinker with it other than the story that we tell?
Ego. I just think a lot of it is ego, and a lot of it is like, I think it's fair that, he wasn't really getting the credit. He was a stand-in, a fill-in, the lucky professor.
Yeah. I wanted to just shift for a moment to the Buss family. These leagues that Dr. Buss invests in for his kids, do you think he did that as a legitimate business move for the leagues themselves?
Well, he knew the NBA. The NBA was his love. The LA Kings were a decent investment. But if you think Jerry Buss was like, the future really involves a tennis league. Come on. He wasn't a dummy. So, he hadn't been a great dad. He hadn't been a super involved father to his kids.
Right.
And now he has this team and he has this financial wherewithal. And he views it in many ways as a way to sort of embrace his children and give them purpose and give them something to, in simple terms, kind of work on together and focus on together. So I think that's really what it was.
It's unique in, I guess, sports ownership. It seems like the Buss family is more intimately aligned with how the Lakers run, certainly in modern history. But they're going through a lot of transitions right now. And what can you speak to specifically about the nature of the evolution of the Buss family juxtaposed to the Laker team, which is an extension of the Buss family?
It is kind of an interesting thing because, like nowadays, take Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban is a heavily involved NBA owner.
Yeah.
But it's not even close to the same as what it was with Jerry Buss. Like, this was Jerry Buss's primary interest, was the Los Angeles Lakers. This was his baby. This was his thing. As the Lakers went, he went. And as he went, the Lakers went. And he could be in a bad mood and call down to Jerry West and complain. He could be in a good mood and call down to Jerry West and celebrate. And, this was a time period where you were not going to really have your daughter become an NBA owner.
Right.
And it is funny because Jeannie Buss wasn't an option. Like, she wasn't an option in his mind, and she really became one over time.
Right.
But she wasn't one.
Do you think she became one over time in the way that she probably deserved to be?
No.
Because the guys were still, after he passed, they were still in the picture.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, Jeannie, I know fairly well, and she's really smart, and she's really savvy, and she knows what the hell she's doing, and she knows what she wants. She's not perfect. She's, some of these errors over the years have not been great, but like she's a good team owner. And she was always way smarter than the others and more savvy and more connected and also understood LA, understood salesmanship, understood the Showtime ethos, understood all of it. But at the point in the show, entering season 2, Jerry Buss doesn't even see it. Not really.
Wow. So, Jeff, thank you for driving an hour and, 20 minutes?
It's probably like 23 minutes.
All right, cool. Because it seems like over time it's grown how long it took you to actually get here.
It was 5 hours.
Thank you again. Really appreciate the insight and everything, and I look forward to doing it again really, really soon.
It was 7 hours.
Okay. I'm now joined by the actors who make up a large part of the Johnson family. Quincy Isaiah, our very own Magic Johnson.
It's a lovely day.
And Rob Morgan, who plays Earvin Sr.
Peace, black man. What's happening?
There's a certain level of blackness you bring that's necessary. It's like Old Bay seasoning on crabs. Right. It's like you bring a certain... You know how they say sometimes the potato salad ain't right? You the paprika.
I'm the paprika that make it right.
Yeah.
That make people go, okay, you know what? I can deal with this.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Rob, I want to start with you. One of my largest fears is one day growing up and having a child like Quincy. And
we coming in hot, huh?
And I'm wondering,
he's swinging.
Where do you find
dude
the inspiration when you see on the call sheet that there's a scene with you and Magic? We're gonna say Magic. Do you get a shot of Hennessy? Do you go to the range? What do you do to get yourself in the right spirit in order to be able to endure what I'm sure is a difficult thing to endure?
Oh, man. One, I say thank God for the opportunity and how blessed I am to be doing what I'm doing. And then to be opposite such great talent as Quincy Isaiah, I get my stretch on, I flip some kettlebells, I, get into my real grounded mindset, and then I just come in and remember to have fun. I trust the brother, as he's shown me so many times, that he's going to come prepared. Once I've experienced that, it's like, we just showing up to work to play.
Quincy Isaiah.
Yes, sir.
I'll be serious right now. Can you speak to the evolution of your relationship with Rob, just as two actors doing this thing, being on this journey together?
I'm working on another project right now. I'm working with a kid who's 12 years old. And one thing that I just kept making sure that I told him was have fun. And that was something that Rob told me. And I think that I'm going to carry that over into the rest of my career. It's just make sure that you having fun, because it's a blessing to be in the spaces that we are in. And Rob carries that. He oozes that. Thank you.
Let's spend a little time on the importance of family to Magic. In one of the first scenes, we see him talking with his lawyer, Lisa, and his manager, Dr. Day, about the unplanned child that's on the way. Just a quick note, the scenes involving the parental agreement, the fictional lawyers, Dr. Day and Lisa, the Mitchells, and Magic's conversation with Cookie before the child was born were all fictional scenes created for the show. Quincy, what do you think the character Magic is thinking in this moment?
He really just don't want to deal with this. I think with this one, because it involves a child and not just a woman or a business matter, that he feels it a little differently. Because this child wasn't asking to be brought into the world. And for Magic, he's just in this moment, like really trying to understand what his options are. And you have somebody in Dr. Day that he trusts that's saying this is the best option. And in the moment, he feels like, all right, I'm gonna just let him take care of that. And he's processing in real time, right?
It's odd because, like you say, up until this point, we've only seen Dr. Day deal with contracts and car dealerships and commercials and those types of things and shoe deals. But now this is personal. Now this is like life.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of a different dimension to their relationship than we've seen up until this point, which I think plays into the connection with family when family gets involved. Do you think that Magic questions the way he goes about dealing with women after this?
No. He's with the lawyer, right? Like a couple scenes. So it's like it didn't really affect his outlook per se. But in that scene too, he's trying to process all of that. So I think he felt very much like he let his people down in that moment because he wasn't being this perfect idea of Magic.
So, Quincy, Magic has a moment when he's dealing with Dr. Day's associate, and they're speaking about right and wrong being relative.
Competing in a world of white men, right and wrong, is a matter of opinion. Theirs. And if you want to play their game, you learn to live with that.
How do you think Magic sort of internalizes that? Because on one hand, he's not competing in a world of white men on the basketball court per se. He's actually dominating in that world. So the meritocracy aspect of it doesn't apply the same because he's already who he is. But in the world of business, because if he's seen in a light that's disparaging in some way, corporate-wise, he might not be seen as the golden child.
Yeah.
How do you see race playing a role in this dynamic in the moment?
It's like being the perfect Negro.
Yes.
Magic feels like he has to be that in order to be marketable, in order to be in front of all these commercials. And in that time, especially during that time, I can imagine the pressure of feeling like you have to be that person.
The way I see it is kind of like, in order to be at the top of the food chain, certainly during this period of time, you're talking about the early 80s, where you don't have a lot of black men pitching things. I think you had OJ and maybe a few others, that you have to have this pristine image of perfection almost that goes against the idea that you see on TV shows where the black guy is always the criminal or the black guy is the drug addict or the drug dealer, that you almost have to be perfect in this way. And none of us are.
And it's not real. And I think nowadays we are allowed to be imperfect. But back then I felt like you had to at least present that image.
Yes. Magic is not the only Laker who becomes a father in this episode. Let's discuss how Kareem, played by Solomon Hughes, talks about the birth of his son.
Have you ever seen a child come into the world? None of the things that I've mastered in my life could help in any way. All of it was worthless in that moment because that moment didn't require a great man to step in. It required me to be a partner.
Right on, Cap. That's all I'm trying to be is a partner.
I doubt that. I'm not gonna sit up here and lie that I regret all that I've accomplished. But my older kids, they know number 33 much better than they know their father.
Watching Kareem be happy about having a child, like he's embracing the idea of being a father. What do you think Magic was feeling seeing Kareem feel that way?
There was a few more lines in there where Kareem talked about the black man and how America has tried keeping the black man away from his child.
To give context to what we're talking about, there was a line in the scene between Kareem and Magic where Kareem is talking about the weight of being a father and how he embraces it due to the fact that there was a time when black men weren't allowed to be fathers. And that stigma that's attached to us as black men, that we don't embrace our children, that we don't love our children. And because Magic is wrestling with this as a character, and Kareem isn't, he's given context to why he doesn't, that this is an honor to be able to bring a child into the world, to protect and love a child. And as a father, there is no higher honor than to be able to bring life into the world.
Yeah. And that was the part that I felt as Magic. That helped me get to a point in my character where I could actually understand the weight of being a father as Magic. And I felt like Kareem helped point that out for my character. And that started the journey to get back to it, I think.
Well, understanding the magnitude of this moment that is bigger than just what Dr. Day and them have presented to you, that there is something else that's under all of this.
Right. It was bigger than the game. Like, that's what he said. It's bigger than the game. It's life, you know? And I think it's important to note that, like, at this point, Kareem doesn't know that Magic is dealing with the baby. He's just saying this to give game to this young brother.
Well, and he's saying it from the heart. He's saying it from a place of, like, openness and vulnerability, that I'm just sharing with Magic how I feel. He doesn't know that Magic's wrestling with the situation at that time. And to me, the power of that moment was he's not doing it out of obligation. It's not like Magic came to him and said, Kareem, I'm wrestling with this idea. What do you think? Kareem's actually coming from a place of power and saying, I feel this way. It's the most beautiful feeling ever. Yeah. And you've got a guy across from him struggling to find the beauty in his situation. But now he's been set on a path. The seed has been planted. Yes. The seed has been planted for the rest of the episode for him to feel, you know, something beautiful can come from this. And the beauty of it is that something beautiful does come from all of it.
Word.
Moving on, let's talk about Magic's injury. At what point, Quincy, do you think Magic realizes the gravity of the moment that he's in? Because basketball players get hurt all the time. You know, you sprain a knee, you twist an ankle. Now he knows exactly what's wrong. And we have this scene.
Unfortunately, the arthroscope revealed more damage than we hoped. We have to open the knee up with an incision about 6-7 inches and remove the cartilage and the scar tissue.
And then I'm gonna be all right?
Then time will tell.
How much time?
Young man in good shape, athlete like him, you should be up and walking in about 12 weeks.
12 weeks?
Ready for light exercise.
Light fucking exercise?
12 weeks puts us a month out for the playoffs. Can he get back in shape?
Fuck shape, Bill. We need him in a groove.
Jerry.
I
heard
the pop from the 12th row. Hey, all y'all just calm down.
What do you think he's feeling?
He feels just how concerned, and I think he kind of feels like how ready to move on they are too. Like, and once people start moving on from you, you like start to feel a little replaceable, right? And like hearing the timeline and all that, I think it plays with him. It messes with his mind because he won a championship his first year in the league, finals MVP. I'm one of the greatest players in the league at this moment, and I'm only in year 2, and I blow my knee out. The fear, and then having to go back home to Lansing and see what he could be potentially have to go back to. I think that's where he starts to allow those fears, insecurities, all these pressures of like, what if? And then to have to deal with family stuff, you know, and deal with Dr. Day and knowing that these endorsements might not be coming in anymore. It's scary. It's a scary time for him.
In dealing with this, because of the injured knee, he had to go back to Lansing. He wasn't surrounded by the opulence of LA and celebrity. Now he's back in his childhood room, He's
Yeah.
back around family, and he's sort of been thrust into the position almost of being a child again. So I'm going back over to Rob now. Your daddy, your son has come home. I'm sure he's made you proud being this big-time ball player. But now the career is in jeopardy, and he got this baby coming. You know, it's not treated as though we're just going to embrace this coming out the jump. How do you think Earvin Sr. was feeling, looking, experiencing all of this?
That's when you're going to be tested the most and find out who you really are, like how you pull through this adversity. At the same time, you thinking the realities of the sharks in the tank, in the business, and your son now is in this world that can attract those kind of sharks. So trying to communicate that to him in the way that Earvin Sr. would best know and understand at the same time is that where Earvin Jr. head is at to receive it and how he would receive it. You know, and I think that scene at the dinner table that we had with the Mitchells and everybody there, that was a very clarifying moment for Earvin Sr. to express how he felt as far as, did I really convey the necessary tools in my son about life other than just the game? You know, you fearing all of this stuff, but this is when you really gotta step up and show who you really are. This is when your manhood is seriously challenged. Who is gonna show up? Man magic or little boy magic? But you can't run away, you know, and stay in my house or our house. You know what I mean? You still gotta do your thing.
Hey, so y'all gonna let him talk to me like that?
You lucky we didn't let him club you like a baby seal. Everybody in there cleaning up your dirt while you sitting in the corner quiet as a church mouse.
So you on their side, huh?
I'm on the side of right.
Rob, you and Lisa Gay Hamilton are the best duo of black parents I've ever seen in my life. I'm incredibly impressed. What's it been like to have a dance partner like Lisa from the beginning?
Oh man, it was a blessing because I've watched Lisa Gay basically tear up all TV shows, whatever she plays in since I was a kid. So to have the opportunity to actually be opposite of her and meet her and find out how just down to earth and cool she is, even with all the things she's done, she's literally like a icon for our black actresses, man. You know, she's laid down a lot. She's opened many doors. So I was completely honored and flattered that you all cast her as my wife. And then so meeting her and just working with her has just been nothing but a joy and fun. And yeah, she's very giving. You know, we have a good time. I think we play tennis well. You know what I mean?
You do.
She's like a great tennis player, man. Yeah, you know, and that's what it feels like when I'm opposite of her.
After the Johnsons' tense meeting with the Mitchells, the family of the girl who Magic got pregnant, he gets some tough love from his parents.
Your blood is gonna be walking these streets. Same streets as us. While you off living your life. So I guess we supposed to be quiet too? Huh?
Look, I didn't mean to do this. Damn, can't y'all see I'm messed up right now? Pop, I got hurt. Nah, it ain't the same. What? Till this is all worked out, I gotta be thinking about me, my future.
Oh, me. I gotta be thinking about me. So Mr. Mitchell wasn't wrong then, was he? You see, I was. I sent you out in the world all worried about you. Turns out you're the problem.
Quincy, how did you feel in that moment when they turned on you? Because in effect, they're defending you at the table. They're defending you, or at least creating a boundary between the Mitchells and you. And now everybody's gone. And now they've turned on you, say, hey, you got yourself into this.
It felt like they weren't empathizing with me. The fears and all these things that's planned that we just talked about earlier about having this big injury and having this baby and like coming back to Lance and maybe not having the career that I was, you know, on the path to have. And like my parents, the people that I love, that I could come to and confide in, it feels like there's a disconnect.
We gave you the real. We didn't give you what you wanted. We gave you what you needed.
Exactly. But being in that position, I felt like, yes, you can give me the real, but like,
make it feel better.
Make it feel better. That's all. Massage it a little bit.
Exactly.
You ain't gotta just like,
I'm hurting here. I'm
right.
hurting.
She's like, me. I'm
Yes.
like, yo, yes, me. Like, the baby ain't here yet. Like, I mean, obviously, as a viewer and as like somebody outside the character, I can see how he was being very selfish in that moment. But like, I just want to be loved up on and taken care of right now. I'm going through it. Help me out, mom, dad.
That's what got you in this situation, is being loved up on.
Right.
I think the beauty of this moment, though, is that it shows that they care more about you as the person than they do the basketball player. Your focus is the basketball and how being injured and not being able to play and all of that is making you feel. And they kind of like, the hell with that. Look at this other thing that's going to be here for the rest of your life.
It's a lot that he's trying to grapple with during this time. And I think it's not until that conversation where it starts to pull him back to Lansing out of that Laker version of Magic.
Want to touch on Magic and Cookie a little bit. So we have this scene where you and Cookie, you're cracking a little bit. You know, that arrogance, the ego, and it's getting to a place without even saying it, of I need you. And you have this moment.
You know, I always wonder, do you even consider that before you stick your dick in somebody? What the outcome could be?
For real. I don't.
That type of honesty, you know, I think had he said anything else, because I think the average brother in that situation would have come up with every excuse in the world of how somehow she trapped me and, you know, blah, 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 doing anything that you could possibly do to evade responsibility for the thing that you did. And in that moment, you choose honesty, which I think opens the door to Cookie's heart to say, there is something redeemable in this brother. When you're in that moment, what do you have to conjure within yourself in order to find that type of sentiment? Because you play it really well. It lands honestly.
For me, Sally Richardson Whitfield, she's the one who really helped me get to a place with that scene in particular where like really like think about it, like really sit in that, you know, and understand the nature of that relationship and like really, because you love this person so deeply and you know that you hurt this person. And the last thing in that moment that you want to do is cause her to feel even more pain and heartache than you done already made her feel. So maybe being honest can help ease some of that in that moment, or at least give her an honest answer that so you can live with it. You know, Magic can live with it, you know?
Rob, I want to ask you this question because this is your dance partner. When Miss Johnson is speaking to Cookie, she says, with the help of the Lord and a good woman, a man can find his way to where he belongs. Why do you think she says this to Cookie? And do you think it's true?
I mean, yeah, I think anybody can appreciate some good, healthy support that can inspire you and motivate you and keep you focused on the path. So I would say that statement is definitely true. Just like for a good man to support a good woman, you know, can keep her on her path too. So, I mean, that could work both ways. But for the one you just shared, I definitely agree with that. It could be a mature Black woman saying, look, you know, with the help of the Lord and a good woman.
That's how she says it too. That's how she says it too. That's why I wanted to get it from you. Because you going to say it and the sentiment. You know?
That's a sister saying, you know, don't make me whoop that ass, you know, but then at the same time it's saying, hey, you know, it's okay if you have faith, be rooted in that, and then come support my son too. You know, you can say it both ways.
At the end of the episode, the Johnsons kicked Dr. Day, Magic's manager, out of Magic's life. That they will assume all of the, that stuff now. It's a family business. We decided to deal with all of this as family.
Wise man once taught my son to never be delivering bad news. Makes it my job. Nigga, get the fuck off my porch.
That felt like Rob really did that before. That didn't feel like acting. That didn't feel like acting. The way those words and the eyes went with the words when he looked them up and down like he was short, that felt like he'd done that before somewhere.
Yeah. That MF at the end.
Yeah.
Hey, man, we know the people.
When you're standing in the doorway with the great Steve Harris, who plays an incredible Dr. Day, brother of Wood Harris, who was our Spencer Haywood.
Yeah.
Where do you go to find that level of blackness?
Man, I just try to go to the truth of the character, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's not enough. You got to give me more insight. Because when you say, get the fuck off my porch, and again, you look at him like he's small. You look him up and down. That ain't in the script. That ain't in the script. That ain't in the script. It's like this stuff, America, whoever's listening to this, these brothers come up with a lot of this on their own. We put words in front of them, but they come up with a lot of this on their own.
You just answered it for me, man. I'm rooted in the culture like that, man. I love expressing as much as I can when I can. And thankfully, the brothers like you, giving us the words to chew on and play, I just walk around with it. And then when you all say action, it comes out how it comes out,
He can turn it around, whereas now it's about me.
Yeah.
And when really it's about him.
The legend that is Rob Morgan, man.
You truly are, brother. I know you humble and all of that kind of stuff. You ain't got to say no other words. Just keep smiling. You ain't got to say no words. You just accept
Let
it.
us talk about
We
it.
need to do that. We need to do that sometimes as black men. Give us our flowers, as the young people say. And accept that you are a legend, if not in the moment, someone that has really, really, really contributed to the community of us within the larger idea of Hollywood.
Yes.
Thank you.
And to my career directly, very directly.
Thank you, my brothers. Appreciate y'all, man.
In closing, I'm going to admit that I love these brothers.
I love you back, man. Love you back, brother.
We knew I loved Rob, from the beginning. I just didn't have the stamina to be able to deal with Quincy alone, so I was using Rob as a buffer. Time for the buzzer beater. This is my chance to highlight a person or production department that helped make Winning Time the spectacle you're seeing, or in this case, hearing. Today, I'm joined by music supervisor Gabe Hilfer, who has been responsible for the show's soundtrack since the very beginning. Welcome, Gabe.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
First, for the audience, for people who don't know what a music supervisor is, tell me what you do.
Basically, we help find the songs that go into a TV show or movie, and then we get the rights to those songs and make sure that we can use the songs in the show. Left brain, right brain. We got to find the cool songs, and then we got to figure out a way to not get sued.
All right, so Winning Time is a lot of different things. There's so many different tonal shifts in the story. When you guys are putting the story stuff together via music, how does that work?
In this show, it's a kind of a unique situation. The editors who are getting the footage first are siloed off and getting to kind of help craft a first draft of the edit, and they get to put in whatever kind of music they want. We talk early on about themes and tones and vibes. And in this show, because it's a period piece, we have that aspect to it as well. So we want to try to stay in the era or earlier so that it's authentic and it helps the audience be in the moment that they're watching Kareem or Magic or Bird and be in the headspace of that character.
I, for one, appreciate how the music is used in the show to sort of bridge not only a time and place, but narratively, we jump to so many different types of story.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're in basketball, which is action, so you need that up-tempo thing. Sometimes you have more quieter scenes and dramatic scenes. Like one could be juxtaposed, like bumped up right against another, and the music supports everything. And so you guys do a hell of a job.
Well, thank you. And I mean, look, also, while, part of it's a trade-off. It's a handoff between the score and the songs, and I'm working in season 1 with Nick Britell and Robert Glasper, and season 2 with Jeff Beal and Robert Glasper. Their music complements, I think, the show emotionally in such a organic way. It's really unprecedented. And to have it the way that it weaves in and out of the source music, it feels like sometimes I've gotten so many emails and so many people hit me up on social media to say, hey, I tried to Shazam this song in season 1 and I can't find it anywhere. What was this song?
Right.
And almost inevitably, it's an original piece of music that Nick and Robert wrote that is so authentic feeling that everyone assumes it's a real song or like a commercially available real song, not even thinking for a second that it could have been score, because score is used in the show so uniquely.
Yeah, they complement each other.
Yeah, and they overlap a lot too. There's things that are more than I think other projects. The score in this show can pass as source in many times and kind of be scorce. Like it could feel like a song, but it hits the emotional beats that we're trying to hit in the show.
In this episode, the use of Olivia Newton-John's magic to go with magic while magic is being magic just fits so well into that scene and in that moment, that little montage.
I love that too. In this episode, because I think there's like a little bit of darkness at the beginning and there's like a riot and they get chased out. And then this is like a refresh, like magic comes on and it feels bright and lively and of the moment.
I thought it was a nice bridge to the cold open, the energy of Let's Go Crazy.
Yep.
And then getting to that moment of magic, which is a little more sultry, I guess you can say, in a quieter way, and then getting us into the story, I thought was really cool. Now, this is my last question, and it's a personal question.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Is this job as fun as I think it is? Like, do you really enjoy this? Because it seems like the coolest job ever if you love music.
Yeah, it is. It is absolutely the best job. I did not know that this job existed when I got into the workforce.
Yeah.
And I stumbled into it about 20 years ago, and I have never taken a day for granted since, because it is a fantastic job where you get to both be creative and also be a little business-minded and negotiating with different people and also tracking people down and finding writers and labels maybe that are defunct or people who have passed and finding their heir. There's a little private investigator to it. I love all that. I love it.
Has the winning time of it all been fun for you? If it hasn't, they're going to cut that part. But if it has been, by all means.
No, I love the show. I love working on the show because let's just open up here. Sometimes projects are a fantastic end product, but the process of making them is tough.
Mm-hmm.
This is the opposite of that. And then when the end product is as good as it is on winning time, it's just a double bonus.
Thank you very much for coming in, man. Really
of course,
appreciate it.
I appreciate it. And thank you for everything you've done for the show.
Appreciate that, brother. The shot clock is up, which means we've got to wrap. Thanks for listening to the official Winning Time podcast. I can't wait to continue these conversations and give you more insight into the Showtime Lakers and our show. A special thank you to our guests, author Jeff Pearlman, actors Quincy Isaiah and Rob Morgan, and music supervisor Gabe Hilfer. Next week, we'll be back to talk about episode 2 and the next chapter of the 80s LA Lakers. New episodes of the podcast come out every Sunday night after the latest episode of Winning Time, airing on HBO. Make sure to subscribe wherever you find your podcasts so you never miss an episode. I'm Rodney Barnes. We'll talk to you next week.
The official Winning Time podcast is a production of HBO, Hyperobject Industries, and Pineapple Street Studios. Our producers are Bria Mariette, Noah Camuso, and Elliot Adler. Darby Maloney is our editor. Our engineers are Harry Nelson, Davey Sumner, and Jason Richards. Our executive producers at Hyperobject Industries are Harry Nelson and Claire Slaughter, with production support from Zaylee Mahoney. Our executive producers from Pineapple Street Studios are Gabrielle Lewis and Barry Finkel. Our production music is courtesy of HBO. Special thanks to Michael Gluckstadt and Savon Slater at HBO Podcasts.